when we talked about this with TechConnects later on in the past year of what we can do more from a practical example of how to help people grow their social selling techniques and social media presence, and how they're helping their organizations with with creating new profiles and creating content and things like that. I thought it would be helpful to take you through a bit of a journey of what we do here at Esri Canada. My job at Esri Canada, I am not on the marketing team. I always preface this: I am not on the marketing team. I am not the social selling person in our organization that that's all I do. My job is actually to drive revenue for our company, and we're part of the largest region in our company that's responsible for a large proportion of our company revenues. So I take a different approach to social selling. My social selling techniques are honed by trial and error and things that I've done in my past, and they're also meant towards revenue generation. And I know that's very key to many of the tech companies in the GTA. So we think this is, something that might be applicable. And I thought the reason I've titled this, you can see on the slide here, Social Selling at Esri Canada, and I put in brackets and TechConnects. I actually just gave this exact presentation to 5 new account managers who just started with us over the course of the last month and a half. And I'm taking them through kind of our journey of what we want them to get to as part of our, social selling techniques at the company, and also to get them as kind of brand advisors, and to get them as influencers, and to get them as people who are going to be working with their clients across the country. So I thought it'd be an interesting take on, you guys can actually get to see what we do internally to help push our account managers and our sales staff to become social sellers, and to help them with that. So I thought I'd take you on a little bit of a journey on some of the some of the things that we talked about. So very quickly, this is me. This is my lovely mug here. As we said, sorry about the non-video, but I do laugh when Keely said, I think Keely had said about Adam Fox for the New York Rangers. It is interesting how your name does pop up in headlines once in a while. And we'll talk about this a little bit later on in the presentation about owning the first page of Google. It's kind of tough for me to own the first page of Google now when I'm competing with, a Harvard defenseman who now plays for the New York Rangers and having a fantastic NHL career. So I think I'm going to lose that battle, but it's one I'm happy to lose. So from our standpoint, just to kind of level set before we get into some kind of practical tech tips and tricks and sort of things, what is social selling? And, from our standpoint, and what we're trying to do in the industry, at the end of the day, I work for a mapping and GIS company that sells software solutions that help make better decisions for our customers. It's a really unique industry. We are very unique in the industry, and the fact that we're definitely the go-to market leader, which is amazing for us. So it's very different for us on how we sell to clients. And we were talking earlier a little bit before we got started, we do a lot of work with a lot of the municipalities in around the GTA and the province. We do a lot with the public sector, kind of the provincial and the federal government, and things like that. So we have to influence, and we have to sell differently. We are not Apple Canada, who are selling wonderful iPhones or products to the consumer that people can go and buy them off the shelf or buy them online. Our solution isn't that. So we are trying to find different ways to influence, share information, and connect with our customers and prospects who one day we're going to want to do business with. And I'm a huge believer I used to, and we'll talk about this a little later, but in my old days on LinkedIn, I used LinkedIn as my resume. So you could tell where I used to work and what I used to do. And I was very, very subjective and very, very restrictive with my profile, in that if I would have got a LinkedIn request from LAN when LAN was at the City of Toronto, I would have absolutely accepted that, because City of Toronto, large position there, that would have been great. But if I would have got one from Jeff Smith, who from another company, another country, another area of the world, usually I would decline that request, because I thought to myself, I have no desire to work with this person. There's nothing there. And we had a great conversation with the account managers, the new account managers that are joining our team just last week, when I asked the same question. I said to everybody on the call, there was only 5 of us, sorry. And I said, are you restrictive with your LinkedIn profile? And everyone said yes. And then I said, why? And they said, I just don't want to deal with students looking for jobs. I don't want to deal with people trying to sell me stuff. I just want to deal with the people I want to deal with. And I said, okay, that's fine. That makes sense. What happens if one of those persons called us up and said, I'd like to buy some Esri software? Would you be restrictive then? And they said, oh, of course not. No, we'd gladly take that phone call. And I said, well, that's the change of approach that everyone has to take with social selling. You have to understand that social selling is a huge new mechanism to be able to attract, gain new clients. And the way I like to say it is, you may one day want to do business with. Maybe that you're just influencing them in some decisions to be able to around your product. And maybe it's really important for them to see lots of information about what you can and cannot offer them. And I'm the first one to think at any day, if anyone wants to consume the content that I'm putting out there on LinkedIn, I would glad you have into my connections. So I just wanted to level set a little bit, us as Esri and the way we go about it. We do a lot of B2B and B2 government and education and things like that. We are not a B2C company. So I always preface that up front. Some people come and ask on presentations like I give for these, they'll say, well, how would I do this if I was trying to sell my widget to 10,000 people? It's a very different kind of play there. And I'm focused mostly on the, on the B2B kind of scenarios. The most important stuff for us, and again, the reason I'm bringing this up is, the purchase committees are getting larger and larger every day. So gone are the days that if I have a really good contact at a municipality, let's say, and I say, listen, this solution is worth $50,000 and I think it's going to change the way you do business. There are very little people, specifically in the public space, who are able to make decisions on their own. They all have to go to committee. The procurement is involved. There are procurement rules in place for many, many reasons. And those are the people that, myself personally, we usually don't have those contacts. I would have people, let's use the City of Toronto as an example. We know lots of great people at the City of Toronto's GIS group and their IT group. We know them very well. We know them personally, but I don't know anyone in procurement. I don't know, maybe I don't know the right people in public works who are working on something, or the water department or something like that. So our goal in social selling is to extremely advance our ability to get our message and our influence out there into the world. And just, I've presented this in the past at one of our our Tech Connect events in the past, but as you can see, sales deals are getting longer. Enterprise deals are we have some enterprise deals we've been working on for years. And again, roughly, 2/3 to 3/4 of a year can be spent on a single account trying to lead to close. So again, it's very difficult for you to have, as a seller or as an influencer, to be able to have that many contacts within the organization to phone every single person every single day to say, hey, we just had a brand new white paper that you might be interested. Hey, we have a brand new client who is very similar to you who just implemented our solution. There's a brand new news article. There's this, there's that. It is impossible for you to keep up with all of that contact, specifically if you're going after, multiple accounts. And like we said, and we have been bitten by this in the past as well, where we think we have the ear of the decision maker. We think we have the ear of the right people who are making all of the decisions that go towards, let's say it's a large RFP. And then we find out, maybe we had 9 out of 10 people on one side of the business, but we missed 5 out of 10 on the influential side of procurement, or we didn't know other people in the business. And so we thought we had everybody. And meanwhile, we only had maybe 1/10, 1/4, whatever it is. And we end up, potentially we could lose that deal. So my big question always is to people is, how do you use social media? And I know on this forum, we may not open the lines to ask everybody, but I want you to think about, from your standpoint of how you use social media. And I'll give an example of myself. I use Facebook as my, I post photos of my kids playing lacrosse, and the grandparents can see that where they live and things like that. To me, Facebook is definitely more of a personal one-to-one connection with the people who I want to, interact with that way. To me, LinkedIn and Twitter are 99.9%. They are very strong business tools. And I use LinkedIn every single day, and I am on there for very little time, interestingly enough. I've got a pattern, and I've got some things we'll talk about a little later, of how most of our account managers in my region, at least, are spending 5 minutes a day being able to do what we're going to talk about today in terms of, being able to grow your network is most important, and being able to share content and collaborate with others. I brought this up as an example to the team that I mentioned I presented to last week. Was I said to them, congratulations, you've got a brand new job at Esri Canada. That's great news. Everyone's proud of you. Everyone's happy that you're working for a great company. So then why, and this is an example I grabbed off of internet. I actually don't know John, but I used him as an example. I said, why are you using LinkedIn then as a resume service? if you have a job, if you have a new job, if you're happy in your job, then why are you using LinkedIn, which is the #1 best social selling tool in the world? Why are you using it to promote yourself? You should be promoting your company. You should be promoting what you can offer to these clients. And I use this as an example. Here's my resume, right? People who want to interact with me, Adam Fox, the person who works at Esri, are, if you're a headhunter and you're looking for me, you're going to find me one way or the other. If I'm using LinkedIn only as a resume tool, there are many different opportunities out there for me to post my resume if I was looking to move in my role. I'm not, so I don't use LinkedIn in that way. Look at this gentleman's, and again, this is totally random that I picked this gentleman's here, but when you take a look at it, I am a content manager. I have 6 years experience. My goal is to educate, inform, and blah, blah. I've done this. I have done that. It's all about the individual. And this is the great differentiator right here. This is probably 95% of what LinkedIn is. And if you want to differentiate yourself in your own market, if you want to create a groundswell of really, really interesting content, and for people to see you as a leader in your field, the absolute easiest way is to update your LinkedIn profile. And that's what we're going to talk about today, mostly. I've got some good examples of what, I've coached my team to do, and I'll go live and we'll just go on LinkedIn and we can show you these. I'll be able to provide you all the links and all the details and the slides and things like that as well as we go through today. But to me, this is the #1 thing that you can do to help yourself become more of an expert in your field, is to get away from the resume version of LinkedIn and get more towards the social selling version. So here's, I actually didn't tell these beautiful 4 individuals that I was going to be putting their faces up, but I want you to be careful and keep an eye here, because I did this to them just last week. And after we went through this session, I also have the after. So this is the before. And as you can see, 4 wonderful people, smiling, good looking people. Take a look at some of their titles, right? Account manager at Esri Canada. These are brand new people, by the way. They just started. Henry is our customer success at Esri Canada. I don't know what that means. I don't even know what that kind of role is. Business development, IoT at Esri Canada. Okay, I could kind of see what David is doing. And I actually like Isabel's. This is before we got into this, but I do like hers, where she says, Esri Canada, she works with utilities, transportation, and health. Okay, so that makes a little sense. And she's, and she's an account manager. So take a look. #1, the pictures of themselves personally. All of these are fine. I'm not here to judge that I think maybe Henry should be in color and not black and white, and maybe Marius should be out outside under a palm tree versus at his desk. Some people have different versions of that. But the one thing I do notice as well, look at the background, right? It's just a bland, typical LinkedIn background. That in itself tells you that if you are someone who is active in social selling or not, this is the #1 giveaway. You haven't even updated your background. And again, I'm not hitting these guys because I talked to them about it last week. And I'm sure lots of people on the call here today will have the exact same kind of background and the exact same kind of profile pic and the exact same type of, I work in this, I work at that company, and that's it. So again, as we go through today, and we'll talk about some tips and tricks, I'm going to show you what these guys did over the weekend, and you'll see the difference. And it's absolutely fantastic what they've done. And again, I'm running them through kind of a little mini boot camp, quote unquote, little course like we're doing today. I spent with them 2 hours doing what we're going to talk about today over the course of this hour. But hopefully you'll be able to get some tips and tricks, the same sort of thing. So I've talked about this in the past when I've given these chats at TechConnects, and I've talked about my social selling journey. At the beginning, I wanted to own the first page. They talk about that all the time, how to own the first page of Google. And the reason you do that is if you Google anything you've ever Googled in your life, I guarantee you most people will stay on the first page, go to maybe the first 3 or 4 links, and that's the end of it. They go in their internet journey from there. And they always talk about being able to own the first page. Is you should be responsible for your name in your industry and be responsible for what comes up. So if somebody goes to Google right this second and types in Adam Fox, as Keely mentioned, I guarantee you're going to see the cool defenseman who plays for the New York Rangers. But if you type in Adam Fox GIS, or you type in Adam Fox Maps, or you type in Adam Fox Esri, the top 10 things you are going to see are things that I have either promoted myself, or I've put my own out there, or you'll see LinkedIn notes and things like that. And so I know my name isn't famous enough that it just goes on the Adam Fox banner by itself, but I do know if you've ever run into me and if you've ever talked to me, you've seen me at a conference, you've seen me present at a conference, I'm talking about Esri, and I'm talking about maps. So most people are going to Google that. The first time you Google my name, they're going to say, I got to find that Adam Fox guy. I want to talk to him about something. You Google that. Oh, nope, not the defenseman. Maybe he works. Oh yeah, he works for that mapping company. So all they do is put in the word map behind it, or GIS, or geography, or Esri, and boom, you're going to find out how to get me, very, very quickly. And they talk about that owning the first page of, at the end of the day, you want to be responsible for what people see and know about you versus the opposite. Somebody easily could have maybe written a review, let's say, of Esri or of Adam Fox or something, and in a tweet or something like that could have had a scathing review, say Adam Fox has no idea what he's talking about, hate the company, hate the man, hate everything about whatever. That will get pushed down very far into the Google world because it's not getting promoted and it is not getting pushed out there on a constant basis, which exactly what LinkedIn and all the other social selling things like Twitter does. And I thought this was interesting. This is direct copies of some of the slides I've presented in the past on how to use social media to help drive sales. You'll see the date there, 2017. This was me presenting with our vice president, John Kitchen, who's a strong member in Tech Connects here. And it was all about me promoting Twitter. And it was all about working with Twitter to help promote our clients, promote promote the work that they do. And I realized as we go through this, who's on, this is again the exact same slide deck from before, 2017. The people I was going after were people like Lan, people who were CIOs of organizations, GIS managers, mayors, councilors, big people like that. But we realized quickly, here's, an ex-CIO of the city of Toronto, Rob Meikle. It was a big deal to have someone like him, retweet something that we're saying, hey, great job on the Vision Zero page that, you're using Esri technology for. We did the same thing, go right after the city of Waterloo, county of Grand Prairie, city of Guelph, having them retweet and promote some of the work that we're doing with them was a big tip in the hat for us, having the mayor of Barrie saying, hey, basically retweeting that we say that great use of technology and GIS for the city of Barrie. That's amazing. And to us, that was fantastic. The issue there, though, is you are only going after kind of the A-type, real, influential people who are out there and active on Twitter. There are lots of people who are not on Twitter, but every single person that we do business with is on LinkedIn. And we weren't getting the right people, like the business heads, let's say for us, the public works division, the division leaders, things like that, people who have, let's say, grown up, for us, a great opportunity and a huge market of ours is public works, water, and things like that. Many of the people who are in those organizations have started as they're an engineer, or they're a technologist, or a technician of some sort. They've moved up into middle management. They've moved from middle management to senior management. Now they're a VP or whatever it is within that neck of the woods. Those are the people who aren't usually on we're finding on social media and things like that. They are, though, on LinkedIn. So when we first got into, some of the LinkedIn stuff, and I'm promoting some of the work that we did, and again, we're going to get into some of the profile stuff in a few minutes, you'll see that you're starting to see the views explode in terms of, as we promote more and more things to more and more people, the views on our posts that are being out there are growing. And the great news about this is, and I've always said this, and we're going to talk about this in terms of some of the content creation later, but to me, the connection side of LinkedIn is massive. And you should, once you get your profile, what we're talking about today, you're going to get your profile all perfect and well and good. The next session we're going to talk about is, how do you get connections? Because at the end of the day, if you've got the best social profile, you've got the best social selling techniques, and you're putting out amazing content, and you only have 10 contacts, it's all worthless. You need to have as many contacts as you can have. And this is exactly why I have always promoted that, make sure when people are trying to connect with you on LinkedIn, accept them. accept them, and not just accept them with a little note to say, very nice to meet you, Steve. Very nice to meet you, Mary. If there's anything I can ever do to help you with your, your social selling journey, or what you're doing with, with Esri technology or mapping or GIS, please let me know. And I put that out to almost everyone who ever wants to link in with me, only from the standpoint of one day they may be a client of ours. One day they may be working at a municipality or a company that does work with Esri software, or one day they may be in a decision-making capacity where they are thinking, should we go with Esri or should we go with one of the competitors? Obviously, I want them consuming my content and being able to see that. So here's a great example of exactly why I do all the work that I do on LinkedIn, connecting with city councilors. I don't have the ability to phone up a city councilor right now in anywhere in a municipality, in Ontario, and have them answer my call to say to them, hi, Karen from Mississauga, would you like to receive an email from me every single week that has great articles about what we do with our clients? They are going to say no. Will you accept my mail? Will you accept my postcard? They will say no. But when I write to them in LinkedIn and just say, we do a lot of great work with the city of Mississauga, their GIS team. I post a lot of municipal content that highlights our customers in the GTA that may be of benefit. You have a great team supporting you, and I'm happy to make the connection. I am getting, and I'm keeping stats on this, close to 98% acceptance rates based on this type of reach out. There are not many people who, when you promote it in a way of, I produce some content that you might find interesting, I hope it's of benefit of you. If you would like, I'd like to connect. And I'm a big believer in, telling these people, especially at the higher level, you have a great team supporting you, because, Mississauga is a great client of ours, and they have a fantastic GIS team. What I find interesting about this is, read the next line down from Karen here. And she says, I went to school for GIS. And to me, that is absolute heaven. I can't believe that we have a counselor in, at the city of Mississauga who knows what I'm talking about when we're talking about GIS. So for me, a connection like that is worth its weight in gold. You couldn't purchase a connection like that. And I do laugh. I've shown this one off before in the past, I believe, as well. But, same sort of content, at the top, we do some great work with Brampton. You have a great team supporting you. This woman writes back, and this is what is pure and utter gold for me. I'm a lacrosse coach. My kids play lacrosse. I'm really passionate about it. This woman, not only did she accept my LinkedIn request, she went all the way down to the absolute bottom of my profile. She read my entire profile to get to the very bottom that says, hey, by the way, I also coach lacrosse. And what does Natalie here say? My husband plays pro lacrosse, and, we have a great connection here and that sort of thing. So these are where the social selling techniques and having a really good profile and creating content really play into your social selling journey. And I showed this off. This was again, I'll be very quick on this one. I showed this off at the little thing I did last week for our guys internally. And I only showed this off from a standpoint of, I did this one day ago when we had the thing, and already 1,500 views on, a little app that the city of Kitchener is putting out, showing, where all the outdoor rinks are on a map. To me, that's really cool. I have kids, we like to go skating. And I just put that out. But because I have now the connection base that I do, 1,500 people in one day saw that post. And what I love about this post is I'm not saying, look what Kitchener did with the Esri maps. Esri is the best. Esri have the coolest maps. They're the best. They're the best. Not at all. All I said is Kitchener's doing some great stuff, and it's on a map. And if you want to go and link in, if you want to connect to it and go and check it out, there's the link. So important to understand when we're getting into the meat now of what to do with your profile is this notion. Then I'll send out a link afterwards, and you can Google it yourself and just type in social selling index. If you type into Google social selling index, it will push you to log into your LinkedIn profile, and it will come up with a number. And that number, now number one, I don't want people to get hung up on the number. Some people have a 10, some people have an 89, and there are days where mine is 89, and there are days when mine is 72, and it fluctuates a lot within the week. So do not get hung up on I'm only a 30 or I'm only a 50 or whatever. You want to track it over time and try and get into a consistent pattern of having, roughly whatever you'd like to do in terms of, if you think 50 is a good number, then try and stay in that 50. And I'll show you some tips and tricks on how to do that. But what it is it's LinkedIn's algorithm or calculator on your social selling abilities, what you do for content, your engagement with people. Do you link in with them? Do you comment? Do you like things? And there's it gives you literally a score based on what you're doing on LinkedIn. Now, let's be honest, if I was a LinkedIn salesperson, which I kind of sound like right now, but if I was a LinkedIn salesperson, this is all about staying on their platform and using it properly. And you do get a higher mark for that. But if Facebook had something like this, it would all be about how many times do you like people posts, how many times do you connect with advertisers, how many times this, how many times that. LinkedIn's a little different because it's obviously the professional version of Facebook. It's a professional tool for both resumes and promoting your products. And they have this algorithm, and it is really fascinating to kind of see how while you endure your, start and go on your social selling journey, how your numbers start to really go up. Now, this is, again, with a caveat, this is dragged right off of one of their LinkedIn sites in terms of, surveying lots of sales professionals. They say that people who are leaders in their SSI do more sales, do better things. And I definitely see that internally for us at Esri. I do know that we have some people who are kind of laggards and don't use the tool as much as they can. And we have some people who are killing it and are producing content almost daily. And they're the ones who also have the most leads in our system. And they're the ones who crush their sales numbers every year. So I have verifiable proof that this is true, but again, caveat, this is directly from the LinkedIn site. So, but the most important thing of how social selling index will work for you, it will help you become a trusted advisor. It will help you become an industry leader. And a promoter of what you're trying to promote within your company. I stress to our account managers that I want them to be the go-to leader for their sector in their market. So I know that if, Lan, I keep going back to you, Lan, because of, your experience at the City of Toronto. But in my opinion, if Lan needed to find out anything that Esri does, I would want her to come directly to me because she consumes my content and realizes that I know a lot of great stuff about municipalities. So she would be able to come to me and say, Adam, I need help with something. We're thinking about doing a project here. Do you have any contacts that could help me? Whatever it is, my job as that kind of trusted advisor is to be that, to be that person for our clients. And I've strived to, help coach all of our account managers to kind of be your own industry leader. Do not be a marketing bot that only just redistributes, the content that our marketing department throws out there. And I'm a big believer in this. Our marketing department does a very good job. All technology companies, do a very good job of saying, these are our top 10 features of our new product. Here's the way our product can help you do this and do that and whatever it is. We do not have a marketing bot who talks about, look at the cool skating rinks happening in Kitchener, right? And to me, that's more the social piece of it as well, that I am not just sitting there spewing out facts and figures of why our product is 18% better than the competition, 14% cheaper, and 38% faster. I don't know if any of those things are true, but at the end of the day, I want people buy from people, and people buy from people they trust. And I want people to obviously look at my content, look at my profile, trust me as an advisor, and then come to me with their problems, and hopefully we can help them. So there's some, again, I'll pass these links around. There are some great slides and great videos directly on the LinkedIn site, actually, that talk about these 4 tenets of what your social selling index is all about. Number 1, establish your professional brand. That is the meat of what we're talking about today, is having a good profile and making sure your profile is complete, and making sure that it has everything that people want to see in it. And in my opinion, it's not your resume, right? I don't think anyone here on the call, after 20 some odd years in the industry, not many people on this call really care where I got my first job, or my 3rd job or my 14th job. They care about what kind of stuff can I provide to them today. Finding the right people is interesting. And this is actually where you will lose a little bit of of scoring if you are accepting kind of everybody. LinkedIn kind of expects that if you're at a CIO level, you're going to have friends who are at a CIO level. And if you're at an analyst level, you're going to have friends who are at that kind of analyst mid-level sort of thing. So when you accept kind of everybody in terms of students and people looking for jobs and people looking to sell you things and whatever, your actual score here goes down a little bit. For me personally, I'm fine with that, because at the end of the day, I look at when students come to me and say, hey, I just graduated from this great GIS program, I'm looking for a job. I always help out and give them some tips and tricks, and I send them off to our HR department to submit the resume, and I connect with them. Now they're a student, so at my level of my role, you could look at that and say, oh, why would a senior director be talking to students? Well, in my opinion, they're one day going to be clients of ours, and I would love to have them in my social connection, and I would love for them to consume the content that I'm putting out. Engaging with insights and building relationships, very similar. Engaging with insights is definitely posted around mostly of the type of content you're putting out there, and are you actually putting things out there, and you're putting out good updates that people are liking and contributing to.
Adam, sorry, can I just jump in here? Because there's a question here from Rose, and she's just saying that she's inspired by your presentation so far and feel that because you're most familiar with B2B, what are your thoughts on how well this is going to work for B2C?
Great question, and I get that a lot, just because we're so passionate, and we do so much on the B2C side. B2B side. The B2C side, when you are selling to consumers, it is a different kind of conversation. And for us, personally, we do a lot of work around, I call it a bit of an embarrassment model, where, as I talked about earlier about, the city of Kitchener is doing this. I want people from local municipalities around there to see that and say, oh, why are we not doing anything like that, and to kind of spurn some innovation and some process that way. On the B2C side, it's definitely more about connecting personally with people. And you look at the Apple version of, I know many people will say, I have an iMac, I have an iPhone, I have an iPad, I have Apple TV, I have Apple kind of everything. And it's building that kind of, number one, trust around your brand. And it's also building that kind of relationship with the brand. And we do see a lot of companies who are doing a lot of social selling on the B2C side. And it's all about kind of the all-encompassing model of getting people to fall in love with your brand, and how it can kind of, elevate the profile within the consumer themselves and what they can do with it. I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of experience on the social selling piece to B2C, just because we don't, obviously, as a company, we don't do a lot of that. But I do know a lot of people are, it's a different model. But it's the same sort of thing as, at the end of the day, if you are trying to become a trusted advisor and you're trying to become an industry leader, again, remember, social selling isn't just, in my opinion, it's not just about me promoting Esri all the time as our, the company that I work for. It's trying to promote myself as an industry leader in in this great industry that I work in, IT and mapping and GIS. So if you are a B2C company and you are building widgets to help with whatever it's going to do, you want to be seen as that leader. And so that's why I always, we're going to talk about this the next time we talk about, kind of where to find content. But to me, it's not always about trying to differentiate your product to the consumer against the competition. It's a lot to do with, how do people love our products? What do people do with our products that excites them and gets them excited in the morning to get up and use my brand new running shoe or my new Fitbit or whatever it is. And you'll see people who are kind of brand advisors and who are really, really strong in this space. They don't go out there. Let's say you're selling a Fitbit. They do not go out there and slag the competition that the Fitbit is 82% faster here and 2% cheaper here and whatever. They talk about the experiences that the people who are using the Fitbit are experiencing. So the fact that, I say Fitbit, I bought my father a Fitbit for Christmas. And, so for my exact example there is the fact that he is now going out for walks 2 times a day versus 1 time a week because he loves seeing the steps going up. And because of that, he's getting healthier and losing weight and everything's great. So from that perspective, there's a lot there on the consumer side that it's more about the experience and what you do with with the actual, the application, whatever you're selling, versus just, from my perspective, is just the clients that we're trying to promote.
Adam, sorry, I know we have another question because I saw,
Yeah,
Mark, why don't you come off mute, because I saw that your hand went up.
Yeah, no, thank you. And great presentation, Adam. And I agree. I recently have been using LinkedIn as more of a tool. And for just tech connects, I think LinkedIn automation techniques and tools would be a good topic because I've had some success with that. But what I'm finding, I just wonder if you have some tips and tricks, because once you get a big network and you create something that's valuable, you'll get a lot of views. But what I'm really surprised about is that not a lot of people share as much. And if I, just because I like to have activity and I like to share good content, if I see something that's worthwhile, I'll share it. But I'm finding that the views are high, but the shares are low. And if you've experienced the same, and if you have any tips and tricks about that.
Yeah, that's a really good one, and we do a lot of work in this area from the standpoint of, you're absolutely right. Like, I get excited when I see something I've posted gets, whatever, 6,000 views on 8,000 views, some of the ones that I pushed out. And you're right, sometimes it's 8,000 views, it's 100 likes and 4 shares. And exactly what you've said, that you want to get those shares out there so you get that multiplier reach. What we found actually really helps, and again, it's very industry specific, I understand, for this one, but oftentimes we know the people who have built the applications, and we know the people who are using our tools. Let's say at that exact example I used earlier, City of Kitchener, where we have openly, as long as they're cool with it, and most people are, I have gone out flatly and said, great job, City of Kitchener and Mark, because I know you're the developer of the app. Congratulations on this great app. It's this, whatever. And we see whenever we start actually naming either clients by name or people by name, that's when the shares start happening, because many times I will also put in, let's say, Mark, you work for the City of Oshawa or something like that. I'll also know probably your boss, and I'll know your directors, the director of your group as well. And people love promotion. So for us personally, we're able to jump into that kind of swell because we have this industry reach. So I will have no problems. There'll be times I'll put on some of my posts, there'll be 4 or 5 names there. It'll be, hey, Mark, Steve, Joan, and Mary, great job on this app. Look at Kitchener just did this, whatchamacallit. So that's one way we do it, but it's also because we know our people very, very well. And it's,
right.
If you don't have those level of connections yet, that could be tougher. This is a little controversial because of some of the courses and discussions I've been in on social selling. Some people like to get a little agitating, right? And kind of say, they'll openly put a question out there and say, for us, why are municipalities not doing more of this? And they will openly call people out, and they'll say that the City of Toronto I'm making this up, has a really bad website for such and such. And the City of Oshawa is really, look at what a town of Ajax is doing. I personally, not a fan of that because at the end of the day,
right.
These are our clients, but they do say by asking a question and by promoting and looking for collaboration. So when you put things out of like, could everyone on my network please answer the question, what is the number one thing you like to do on LinkedIn or whatever? And you put a poll or you put some kind of question back, that there's a lot more kind of back and forth communication at that point. And not so much maybe shares, but the good news is, as my connections start connecting with that, you, Mark, who are, let's pretend you and I are not connected, but we do have a shared connection, a second level connector. You will see my content on their page because you will start seeing, oh, Steve Smith, commented on Adam Fox's post about blah, blah, blah. And that will bring multiplier level people into the conversation as well. So there's a couple tips there, but it is tough. I'll notice as well that it really depends on the people you're dealing with. And on LinkedIn, we're finding more and more people lately, and especially with COVID and people working from home, we've noticed our our rates and our engagement rates are through the roof. And a lot of people are saying, I've read some articles on this on the web as well, but a lot of people are saying, as people work from home, they don't have their manager looking over their shoulder. So if they are on LinkedIn a little bit too much or reading some things, or they're on a couple blogs or Twitter or things like that, you don't have managers or whoever walking by their screen and saying, oh, what are you working on today there, Mark? Right. And we're seeing that a lot of people are kind of engaging with us a lot more over the last year. And they're saying it's definitely because of this whole work from home notion.
Adam, just a quick question.
Thank you. And just real quick, Twitter compared to LinkedIn, how would you rate the two for your business development exercise?
That's a great question. So for me, and I say the old days, I'll put my air quotes up, old days of a few years ago, I was going after Twitter from the standpoint of I was trying to almost game the system. I wanted the mayor of Barrie, like I showed, or the CAO of Kitchener, or whoever it was, any of our clients. I keep going to municipalities, but it's any of our clients. I wanted those retweets and I wanted those kind of accolades from them. And the big issue I'm noticing is, like I said, very, very few people are engaging with us on the Twitter side where I can measure the engagement on LinkedIn. To me, LinkedIn is way more important nowadays than I thought in the past. And now I'm doing the opposite. In the past, I used to do 99% Twitter and barely anything on LinkedIn. Now, all I'm doing is pushing the same content that I put out in LinkedIn. I just punt it to Twitter quickly as an extra. But there are very little times that I think to myself, I should put this out to Twitter before LinkedIn.
Adam, just a quick question, because you talked about, and this kind of goes along with what Mark was saying too, and kind of that sharing thing, is we see on LinkedIn, you see across the bottom, like, comment, and share. In terms of being a bit of a thought leader and getting your voice also heard, what is your best avenue in order to, you've seen something like the Kitchener, City of Kitchener one, for instance, what's your best avenue? Like, what happens if you like it compared to share it and comment on it?
In terms of what the people who are collaborating, like on the article themselves?
Yeah, and it's maybe a little bit more of your outreach and a little bit more of your opportunity to be a thought leader. Like, if you just like something and you're liking everything, are you getting things out there the same way as if you've made a comment on it, or if you have shared it?
Well, I see exactly what you're saying. Yeah, if it's my content and I'm getting likes on it, that's one thing. If I'm, either reposting or sharing things that other people have done, the difference isn't so much like versus share. To me, the biggest issue with the LinkedIn algorithm is because you and I have liked or shared a couple of our articles themselves. The best thing about LinkedIn, and this is where Twitter fails, in my opinion, where LinkedIn is much better, is LinkedIn basically has an algorithm that shows the strength of our relationship. If you and I have had 10 different things over the course of 3 years that you've liked a few of my posts, I've liked a few of yours, I've commented on yours, you've commented on mine, it puts that as a ridiculously strong connection versus someone who I have never interacted with. I accepted their LinkedIn request 3 years ago. They haven't liked anything of mine. I haven't liked anything of theirs. And that's kind of like a very tertiary kind of relationship. Whereas your and my relationship now is extremely strong. And the best part about that strong relationship is my feed, my post that I posted 2 weeks ago. Let's say that you have not logged into LinkedIn for a couple of weeks. You've gone on vacation. Well, you're not going on vacation now, but you've gone on vacation, and you come back and you log into LinkedIn. You are going to see what I have posted 2 or 2.5 weeks ago, because based on the strength of our relationship, which is amazing. In Twitter, if you've missed that cycle, if you took a day off Twitter, you've missed all of that, unless it's like some hyper viral sort of thing that's going around and everyone's talking about it. So you would have missed my content. You would not have seen that really, really cool article I put out there. And that's the best part of LinkedIn. So the connections there, I'll tell you flat out, when I go on LinkedIn for 5 minutes every day, I am liking things that sometimes I'm liking it because I want a stronger connection with you than do I love the article? Did I read the article? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but it's really important for me to grow the strength of that relationship versus, again, at the end of the day, I want you seeing my stuff 2 weeks later, a month later. When we're done this session today, go to your LinkedIn profile, start going down the list of all the articles that you are seeing thrown at you and look at the dates they are posted. And you will start to see, so-and-so posted this 5 minutes ago. So-and-so posted this 18 minutes ago. So-and-so posted this last week. Wait a second. Like, why is that last week getting higher ranked than the ones that are posted 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago, and an hour ago? That's based on the strength of your relationship. LinkedIn has evaluated that you are extremely important for me to see your content. And I hadn't seen it, let's say, because I haven't been on LinkedIn for 2 weeks or whatever. And it is forcing it into my feed, which is absolute heaven from a standpoint of somebody who's trying to, if someone like myself, who I'm trying to be out there and be promoting my brand and promoting our solutions and things like that. LinkedIn gives me the ability to say, if I have a strong connection with you, that person from whoever, the mayor of Guelph or whoever it is, they will absolutely see my content. It's almost a guarantee, which is amazing.
Okay, thanks.
So I want to give a couple examples here. I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, and again, if we don't get through everything today, obviously the next session we can continue on this part of the conversation. And again, these are all real people. This is a gentleman, Dave Brasciuti, works for me. He's our utilities account manager. And again, the things that you want to look at on his profile just right away. Number one, good solid picture. He's a good-looking dude, but he's got a great photo behind it. What do you think he does for us at Esri Canada? There's power lines, nuclear plants, electricity. Well, obviously that's what he does. He is our account manager for utilities and telecom. So you want a strong picture there that kind of helps you with your brand and helps you with, give people a quick, everyone goes to the picture first, everybody, right? So if you sit there in your LinkedIn profile and the thing I'm looking at is that bland gray LinkedIn background, that doesn't give me anything. I look at this at Dave right now and I'm like, I know exactly what he does and how cool is it, the picture in itself. And again, we'll get into this in a few minutes, but not many people know you have 3 lines of text that you can use here underneath your name. You don't have to just say, I'm the CIO for the City of Toronto. I am the branch manager for the such and such. You are allowed 3 lines of text. Don't throw that away. Make sure people can see what you're talking about here. Now, as you can see, this is what I said. If everyone goes to your SSI, you are going to see some of your numbers could be 10, 20, 5, right? Look at Dave here, right? 25 out of 25 out of building relationships. That's fantastic. Finding the right people. Here's the key piece that we're talking about today, establishing your professional brand, 18 points out of 25. He's done a great job there. I think my numbers, I think mine are next. So my professional brand. Now, again, I told you this, my numbers will go anywhere between 78 and 88 on any given day. And that doesn't mean anything. I don't get fussed about certain things, but you can see here, the build relationships, very strong, 25 out of 25. Establish your professional brand. These are the tips that we're going to get into for the next little while. And the most important thing to me out of this entire social selling dashboard that you see when you log into your SSI is not actually these 4 numbers, even though this is what gets your SSI high. It's the numbers up here. I am ranked, other people, well, let's go back to Dave, let's say. He is ranked number 1 in our industry, in the number 1%. If you can get anywhere near the top 10% in your industry, you are awesome. You are fantastic. And that is something that everyone here on the call should strive eventually within the next 6 months to a year to get to. And the fact that, this is an interesting one, Dave is 3%, in the top 3%, I mean, out of his entire network. Again, those numbers are fantastic, right? So to me, these are the numbers that I concentrate most on. I want to make sure that I am in the top 1% in my industry and in my network. And it really shows that, that you're actually really doing stuff. And as you can see here, you can see some people in my network, their average is like 39. And I guarantee you, most of you will, if you haven't done anything in social selling, you're going to be in those 50, 48, 68. It doesn't matter. This is a great gauge for you to use of how to get better. And I'll tell you, and like I said, with the people we worked on last week with their social media profiles, their social selling profiles, they have already seen jumps of 10 and 15% just by changing a little bit on their professional brand. So I'm not going to, this is, again, no names here, but this is exactly, don't look at the stuff on the right, because that was me giving them some insight of where they could get to. But on the left here, you can see this is some of the people I was working with that just joined our company. This person has an 8 in professional brand, right? If all they do is take some of the teachings we're going to go through in the next few minutes on professional brand, they will instantly jump to much higher. And these are I'll just go through, I'll bring these all up really quickly. Actually, I'll pull back just for one. The number one thing, obviously, get a good picture. This is an easy one, right? Get a strong picture and make sure, you're smiling, you're happy. You don't have anyone else in the picture. I don't believe, having you and your 3 kids there looks great. To me, that's more Facebook, not LinkedIn. An interesting part here as well is look at your URL, and I can show you how to fix this, but you can create your own URL in LinkedIn. So look at mine at the top, Adam Fox GIS, right? Others you'll see, most of yours will be things like Nicole Ferreira's here, right? Nicole Ferreira B562703004. You can change your own. So look at how strong these LinkedIn profiles looked, the good ones, right? Adam Fox GIS, Brian Hinnett, Dave Bershuti, Ian Greensmith. Those are strong, verifiable, great URLs, and you can change yours at any time you want. The background pick is what we talked about, and we showed you on Dave's already. Get a nice background pick, and I'll show you some examples of what our guys have done. The title and the about section, these are the same things, and I'll just go to a live example in a second just to show you. But the title and the about section, you have more space than just saying my name. My name is Adam Fox, and my role at Esri is I'm called a director. If all you saw is Adam Fox, Director, Esri, you don't know what I do. You have no idea what I do at the company. I could be the Director of Finance. I don't, you have no clue. So give yourself that chance and put more in there. And the key thing here as well is put up some videos and some pictures in the about section and in your volunteers. In your section about the company that you work for. This allows you the chance to brag about your company, not about you. This is not about what Adam Fox does and how great I am at what I think I do. It's how great my company is about what my company does. And that's the key differentiator there. If I go to, hopefully this works here. I'm just going to go straight to Dave's connection here. Hopefully everyone can see this as it comes up here. Just give me a sec. So can everyone see that? Can you see this okay? A thumbs up? Yep. So here's Dave's. And again, he does have a good picture here. It must just be a little slow on my home internet, but look at his about section. Look at how awesome this is. I've spent my entire career focusing on utility and telecommunications. Let me just click this here. Doing this great stuff. I have a long history with utilities communications across Canada, implementing solutions. Our platform does this, right? This is not about Dave. This is not Dave's the best sales guy. This is Esri's the best company. Esri's got the best technology for utilities, and you can see here as he goes into his experience, right? He's an account manager. He's in sales. Yes, he is. But he's responsible for building and maintaining long-term relationships, collaborating, all of this sort of stuff, and allows you to have much more information, again, as us as Esri, right? Coupling our product with IoT, big data analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence. You don't get that from him saying, he could have easily said the opposite of, I'm the best salesperson at Esri. Well, good for you, but I don't know anything about Esri. I don't know what you get out of that. So to me, that's the key differentiator between people who use LinkedIn as a resume versus people who use it as a social selling tool.
I just wanted, there was a question here, and I just want to clarify. Establishing a professional brand and updating all of this can be for any part. You do not have to have the paid LinkedIn in order to do that.
Yep, that's the number one question I get. Every single thing I've talked about today, none of it has to do with being paid on the professional version. The professional version of LinkedIn, what it actually gets you, it gets you more search tools to find people. And if you think that's worth it, then you can pay for that. And I have paid for it in the past to try out some techniques. What we use at Esri Canada and the way we do social selling, we don't need the professional version whatsoever. And that's why I jokingly said earlier about being a LinkedIn salesperson. I'm actually not. The stuff that we do not need it. So here's what I said. These are the examples of some of these people did ahead of time. And if I go and click in, I'm going to go and grab, we'll grab Marius here. And take a look at the before and after, right? So this was him before, right? Great picture, account manager at Esri. I don't know what that does. And ugly gray background. And within 1 week, he did this over the weekend. He put a cool picture up here, and it tells you exactly why GIS is essential. He is not just an account manager. He helps customers discover, understand, manage, and analyze and apply geographic information. He brings together data, technology, and people. Right? That is a very different word than just saying I'm an account manager. And again, look at this, right? My passion is helping our customers. I've got 20 years experience, but a full functioning GIS does the following, right? And this is all about what we are selling, what we are doing, right? And I love this as well. Unlock your organization's locational intelligence. Here's my contact information. Oftentimes we'll see people who will have their Hotmail address, right? Because those are the people who are looking for jobs. And that is the big difference between, and again, like I said, what we're talking about today, this is the only thing we worked on with these people last week was exactly this, just getting their profile better. And if I go and click on one more, I'll go and grab, let's say, I don't know, we'll grab Henry here. Perfect. Look at this. Gorgeous. Again, this is the first time I've actually seen this one. I'm not logged in, so I would see his photo if I was logged in. But, you know, Henry here, you know, he's the Pacific Customer Success Manager. He is helping provincial municipal governments in their strive for location intelligence. And boom, look at his about section. It's gorgeous, right? And here's the, you know, phone number is his professional email address, not his, pinkelephants@hotmail.com or whatever else he could go by, right? So this shows what a strong professional, profile can look like. Great activity. And what we're going to work on with these guys next, as you can see here, he's a customer success manager. There's no detail here. I don't know what any of these roles do. And that's what we want to work on next with these guys within their profile, of get some great detail in here of what you do for the company and for your customers versus just listing out, you know, I worked at, here's my 1 role, my 2 role, and my 3 role. Now, we've got some examples here. I use these examples in terms of how to search and get information and stuff. Today is more about obviously getting, finding the right profile. Oh, sorry, I'll go back to, getting this is kind of the to-do list of making sure people get this up and running on their profiles. And like I said, I will send out through Tech Connects, we can send out, some great examples. I have a lot of really good examples that I've honed over many years that are not just me at Esri and my staff. It's, from across different industries. So I've got some great examples of those ones that will showcase, what a really good profile looks like. The custom URLs, I purposely think the custom URL is important, because when you put this link in your email signature, the last thing you want to see is, AdamFox_61403-602.A as my URL, right? If anyone knows me, you know how passionate I am about GIS. Well, I've got it right there in my link, in my URL. So to me, that's one of the first things you should do is go, claim your own URL for whatever it is, be it your name or be it your industry or whatever. And the same sort of stuff, like as you can see here, where we did, where was it? Oh, some of these have changed actually. Sorry, because these were the ones that they had before. Look at Isabel. Right after she changed hers from Isabel to GIS Esri, which is great, right? Marius has a good one already. That's his name. But this one here, 016686403. So to me, that's a big deal. But important, to me, the most important stuff that you guys can work on is, number one, your title. Get it away from just exactly what your business card says, and the about section and the experience that you have within your company is really, really important, because that is your brand. I've said in the past, some people have asked me, do you think that the company should take over your profile? Do they own your profile just because you work for them? My opinion, no, they don't. But I do think there should be some branding guidelines. I do think there should be some oversight. And I do believe that some business leaders and managers and things like that should be poking around on your profile to say, hey, Mark, why did you put this in your, in your profile? That kind of goes against what we're trying to promote here. Why don't you change it to be a little more this or a little more that? To me, I think it is really, really important. And once you have this done right, in my opinion, you kind of can set it and forget it for a while. I update mine once in a while. I do have to change my photo. I'll be the first to admit my photo is not good. It's too dark, and it's of me speaking at a conference, and I wanted to get a better picture, and I just didn't have one at the time. So that's one thing I actually have to do, is update my profile as well. So Kia, I don't know if we want to take any more questions. I know we're at the top of the hour here. And I think, did we have till 1 or was it 1:30, Kia? Sorry.
It was actually until 1, but
Okay.
If you have a couple of other things, if you have time and people have questions, I'll just make a quick comment here, is Adam's going to do kind of the second half of this on February 24th, and we will send out a different link. So this link today will not work for that. It will be a different link, but we'll send out a couple of recap notes on things that you could look at as well. But Adam's next section is hopefully from now until 2 weeks from now, you'll work on establishing your professional brand and updating your LinkedIn, getting a picture in your background and changing some things. And then the next section is actually on tips and tricks and best practices that you can do, and kind of establishing where you get some of the content and things.
Yeah.
But please, does anybody have any questions that they want to ask of Adam right now? Okay, Lan, go ahead.
Hi, Adam, it's Lan. I have a question. I noticed these days in Facebook, company are started to appear on Facebook a lot. My question is, how do you ensure that what you put in Facebook and what you put in LinkedIn would not create any issue from selling, but also from the company? Because your personal Facebook most of the time is your personal information. Right?
It's a great question. We at Esri Canada have drafted, social media guidelines that all of our staff have to kind of agree to, obviously, if they're going to be doing things. We don't have a hard and fast policy of, you have to get pre-approval to post things. We rely on, the professionalism of our staff to be able to make sure the right, the right things are being shared and posted. And I always go by my mantra of if I was to post something, and I had the president of our company call me a minute later and say, "What did you just post?" I need to have a gut check I need to be able to defend that, to say, the reason I put up that thing about Kitchener is because I thought it was a great post to promote this, this, and this. We're not a controversial, let's say, company and things like that. So it's a great question on the Facebook side, because you're absolutely right. It is definitely way more private, and let's say the company can't kind of view into, into that world. We have had cases where a bit of the content that was shared by some of our staff were just a little outside of our messaging. Not that it was a bad post, but it was more, we are trying to message that we are kind of heading this way in the direction. And let's say the person posted maybe on something, maybe it's an older technology or promoting something that we're not promoting anymore. And we have had conversations with them to say, listen, we appreciate your post. We'd like if you could revise it slightly, because we're trying to head in this direction with our technology and not that direction. And it was a fine conversation. So luckily we haven't had any real issues from that standpoint. But I do know lots of organizations are drafting social media guidelines and kind of best practices, and relying on the professionalism of their staff to be able to, to know. To me, it's the equivalent of, would I get up on stage and scream from the rooftops that Esri, is a horrible company to work for and has bad workplace practices? Of course I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that on stage, and I wouldn't do that in LinkedIn and stuff either. So it's kind of the same kind of professionalism, that whatever I'm willing to say out in public or in private about my company, I'm willing to, stand by those guidelines within the, the social media space as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions that they wanted to ask Adam?
Great presentation.
Thank you very much.
I actually did my social index. I'm on the 6% of the industry, and then 34% on the network.
That's fantastic. Well, and interestingly, you know what that says? So 6% in the industry is fantastic, because that obviously you've highlighted what industry you're in, right? You were not in, I assume, automotive goods. You're more in information technology. The interesting part is on your network. What that shows you in your network is that your network usually, traditionally IT does, have a very strong presence in LinkedIn, and they're doing a lot there. So I would assume a lot of your connections are also, CIOs of organizations and directors and leadership level positions, and they're all on there doing a lot as well. So the fact that it kind of shows you how strong your network and what they're doing is, which is great news. You'll see others where you could easily have someone say, wow, I'm in, 8% of my industry, but I'm in the top 1% of my network. Well, that just shows you that, if you haven't done much in social selling and you're already at the top, that means your network isn't doing a whole lot. So it's a great kind of, back and forth that you can play with those numbers.
Oh, good to have a description of this number, because it's not easy for me to tell what is it.
Yeah.
Thank
you. And interestingly, what we talked about for the next account, the number one question I get all the time on social selling is, it sounds like it takes a lot of work. And what I'm trying to show you here is, this part we're talking about today, this does take some work. Go and find a good photo, create your new URL, get some good background, and spend some time in the about section and things like that.
Yeah.
Once we're done this part, the easy part, and I'm going to show you some great tips and tricks at the next session of, I literally will spend 5, maximum 10 minutes a day doing what I do. And my, the sales engineers, the salespeople who work for me say the same. Once you get going with it, it becomes a bit of a habit. My goal is I actually, before I check email in the morning, I do this quickly. And the tips and tricks that I'll show next session will all be about, and I always say this, how to beg, borrow, and steal content versus creating your own. Because I am not, like I said, I'm not in our marketing department. My job is not to create blogs, 600 pages long that talk about how great our products are. That's not my job. I find my job is how do I quickly find that stuff, republish it, hopefully get some connections, and move on to my real job. So the tips and tricks that I'll show are all born from myself trying to get it done quickly and efficiently and move on to what I actually do for a living versus, I'm not going to become a content creator that builds out a blog that took me, a week to build and spell check and make sure the grammar is proper and make sure it fits all the guidelines. That's not my role. We have our marketing department for that. So to me, my hope is, the number when we get to the next session is everyone will have, some cool stuff on their profiles, and please, I would beg, take a before and take an after. And I would love to see that. And I'll open up, I'll give you my contact information with the details that we send out. If anyone at any time wants to send me their LinkedIn profile and say, hey, I've done some work on it, can you take a quick peek? I would happy to review and to send some details out and say, hey, great job here, here, and here. I really think you should emphasize this, this, and this, because from myself as well, me potentially not knowing the industries that many people on the call are about, it would be a great first objective insight for me to look at and say, I have no idea what you're trying to sell. I have no idea what kind of industry you're in. Like, let's try and make it a little more, human, or maybe a little more, agreeable, so people can quickly take a peek and say, hey, Mark, great job on your profile. I know exactly what your company does. Sounds very interesting. And you've done a really good job on these links. So by any means, we'll send out the details, but I'm happy to, at any time, if anyone wants to reach out and say, hey, take a quick peek at the profile. Is this along the lines of what some of the guidelines you're talking about? I'll gladly help.
All right. Well, it is 1:15, and just to be conscious of your time as well, Adam, thank you. We really appreciate this. We will send out some of the information and a couple of the tips that you can use as well. And then February 24th is the next session where Adam will share some of his tips and tricks. And I do know that, having attended some of them, they're pretty straightforward, and you sit back and think, oh yeah, I can do that too. So join us on that. And what is great is we will be sending out another link for it as well. So don't use this one. So disregard this one. It'll be a brand new one. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks, and everybody with your beautiful updated profiles. So thanks again, Adam. Take care.
Absolutely.
And everybody have a fantastic day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.